This is Monty once again from DPL Surveillance Equipment. Just 1 second. Let me put my headset just in case it makes any difference in the audio quality. See, okay, let's try it again. Welcome, this is Monty from DPL Surveillance Equipment. We're back again. Today's our Friday, and Friday is one of the days where we go and do what we want to do. Well, actually, it's not only Friday, but it's Monday and Tuesday and Thursday and Friday. We have a lot of financial freedom. We have a lot of freedom overall, basically, to do what we want. That's because we're Bitcoin enthusiasts, probably. I'll let you guys figure that one out. As I preference that according to what the article is all about. So this is Monty, owner of DPL Surveillance Equipment, and Carol and Aranda. She is here.
Morning.
And she's taking care of our cat Lazy Bones in addition to preparing some things. So we'll have at least a snack before we leave here, prior to going out and running some errands and doing whatever, again, what we want to do as compared to what we have to do. Now, we run a full-service surveillance and security equipment company, as I mentioned before. And but before I get into that, I just want to say that we typically spend the mornings reviewing and going over the agenda for the day and seeing if there's anything going on business-wise, personal-wise that we need to take care of. As I mentioned before, I review specifically what's happening in the financial markets, reading Wall Street Journal articles, listening to what's happening on Bloomberg. All of these things, as far as I can tell, are very important. And for you, those of you who are running a business, even for your personal life, you may want to consider what's happening overall with the economy, with certain companies, movers and shakers. It doesn't hurt to find out what the movers and shakers are doing. What is Amazon planning? What is Tesla, or rather Elon Musk, talking about? Some of these things actually help you get an idea of what's happening out there as far as what's happening in the retail sector, companies going out of business, startup companies. There's just a whole bunch going on that some of you business-minded people may want to embrace. So anyway, we run a full-service surveillance and security equipment company. We have lifetime guarantees and warranties on all of the products. We have 24/7, 365 tech sales and customer support. And not only do we have the largest inventory of items that you can buy, but you can rent them or you can lay them away if you want to. And we have a huge number of demonstration videos that you can look at, a lot of articles that you can read about, learn about what's happening. Again, in the cryptocurrencies, you can learn about health and fitness. You can learn about the economy or economics and finance. You can learn about terrorism, anti-terrorism. We're just covering a wide gamut of articles, or subjects rather, in these articles. And they're all free. Go there, check them out for yourself. While you're there, listen to the podcast. While you're there, also read the blogs as well. All of it's free. Get a very good education on surveillance, counter-surveillance, terrorism, anti-terrorism, and everything else that I mentioned. And you can pardon the noise because Carolyn's preparing some orders to go out. So we're going to get a little bit of noise in the background, but that's okay. What else I want to mention? Oh, yeah, we revamped or redesigned the website. The website has been completely redesigned. So those of you who, if you remember the old website, it was very old and antiquated, not very easy to navigate. Basically looked like a 1960s or 70s style website, even though they didn't have very many websites back then. It just looked very old, outdated. But it served its purposes. It served its purpose. We processed a good amount of orders and really put ourselves on the map, even with this website that was so rudimentary and so just thrown together with duct tape and glue. It really served its purpose. We made a lot of money, did very good. Um, Things have been slowing down as of late, but we've been through various boom and bust cycles in the economy, so we're very well prepared to weather these types of storms, and we're very familiar with how to handle boom and bust cycles in the economy. So just want to get that out of the way to let you entrepreneurs and business owners let you know that you can hang in there and you can buckle down and just prepare for those situations where sometimes things are going very, very good, sometimes things are going not so good. Okay, so that actually falls in line with today's topic. Now, as I usually do, I want to double check the topic. The topic today is called, the title of this article is Household Borrowing Reaches Record $13.3 trillion, while government borrowings reach record $22 trillion. Now, the reason why we're focused on debt is because, believe it or not, a lot of people are struggling to make ends meet, and we want to let you guys know what you're up against. See, sometimes people have a hard time making it, and they know why, and then you have a large group of people, particularly young people, or even older people for that matter, they struggle, and they're not quite sure why, what's happening, right? Once upon a time, you worked hard, you abide by the rules, you got a good education, and everything works out just fine, right? But for a number of reasons right now, excuse the noise, a number of people are trying very hard, again, going to school, taking out tuition, loans, and etc., and they're still struggling. So we have to give you guys some indication in terms of what's going on. So speaking of trillions of dollars of debt, the New York Federal Reserve, particularly a gentleman by the name of Wilbert van der Klaauw, he is actually a vice president at the New York Federal Reserve, and he has the most stupid article that was published in the Wall Street Journal that I've seen in a while, mainly because he's admitting, on the one hand, that this $13.3 trillion in household borrowing, he's admitting that that's a very large number, and he's also admitting that right before the last great market collapse in 2008, 2009, we had borrowings, household borrowings, that were almost equal to what they are now, but he's trying to lead you guys to believe that that's perfectly okay. And I want to tell you it's not perfectly okay, because when we had those collapses around 2008 and 9, you guys hadn't taken out that much debt as you've taken out now. You've taken out, our debts rose by $82 billion in the second quarter alone, driven by rising mortgage, credit card, and auto loan balances, according to the Federal Reserve, the Bank of New York. Okay, their own report is telling you. Wilbert is telling you that, you guys are adding a tremendous amount of debt to your balance sheets at a time when you really it's the worst timing imaginable. In other words, because we've had the longest economic expansion. If you listen to the people who talk about how long the good times have been lasting, they'll tell you that this latest economic expansion has gone on for like 20 years. And if that's true, then obviously expansions don't last forever, and we're due for a pullback, due for a recession, due for maybe even a depression. And believe it or not, you don't want to go into a recession with $13.3 trillion worth of household debt, okay? Because when you divide that up amongst the families, that simply means that you're going to get wiped out very soon and very quickly. And living paycheck to paycheck is not an advantage. That's something you want to avoid at all costs. So anyway, getting into this article a little further, Um, Let me see. Wilbur said aggregate household debt grew for the 16th consecutive quarter. Um, he said delinquency rates have been stable for most categories of debt and falling for student loans. And they show an improved labor market. Well, because of an improved labor market. Now, I can tell you he's lying to you guys because, for one, when you look at even student loans, see, a lot of student loans, believe it or not, are outstanding to the tune of about 1.2 $1.25 trillion. When you have $1.25 trillion worth of student loan debt out there outstanding, that's a ticking time bomb. And just so you guys will know, the amount of subprime car loans out there is about $1.2 trillion as well. So just looking at student loans and subprime auto loans, you're looking at a couple of $1 trillion just right there. So I think you guys better wake up and understand that this $13.3 trillion probably should be either be revised or viewed in the proper context in terms of the greater impact that's going to have if we have a pullback in the economy. See, no one's also talked about the savings or investment rate. That's because the Federal Reserve and the credit card companies don't want you to have anything to do with saving money or investing money. So they're not talking about savings rate. They're not talking about investment rates. They're not talking about anything like that. They're talking about debt, trying to lead you to believe that it's okay to take on as much debt as possible. Now, if that were true, then that means debt is irrelevant and you can have as much debt on your credit cards and finances as humanly possible and not have any negative effects, which is the furthest thing from the truth. Okay, at some point, debt does come back to haunt you. And since me and my wife, our family, we have zero debt, we don't have to worry about waking up and having credit card collectors and debt collectors calling us asking for payments or something like that. That's just outrageous to have somebody breathing down your back, calling your job, calling you during dinner or whatever, talking about we want our money back or something like that. Let's see what else I want to go over here. Let's see. In the second quarter, lenders originated $151 billion of new auto loans, the best quarter in 13 years. The total stock of outstanding auto loans climbed to a record $1.25 trillion. Okay, in a sign that lending could continue without causing widespread distress, loans have been rising for borrowers with the highest credit scores and declining for those with lower credit scores. See, this is very misleading also because actually a lot of those auto loans, as I mentioned, are subprime auto loans. They're loans made to the worst borrowers. In other words, if you can walk into a dealership, a car dealership, and if you had a Pulse, for instance, and you can fog up a mirror by blowing onto it, that simply means that you can get an auto loan. Okay, these are some of the worst people who just barely got a job, barely found enough money for a deposit or something like that, and they get to walk out there with their favorite preferred car because it's easier to give away a vehicle to someone, and then if you need to repossess it, you get to get the vehicle back, and plus all the payments, any so-called equity that you build up by paying down that loan, that reverts back to the lending institution. So that works out to their benefit and not yours. And just because these automobile companies have had an outstanding set some records in terms of originating loans, again, that's deceiving in and of itself because, again, just realize they're pushing these loans on any and everybody, okay? And a lot of these cars are actually sold at a loss because that's where they make their money, on the financing, on the servicing, on maintenance. So any idiot can give you a car and let you walk out there happy, but you're going to pay a lot of money after the fact when it comes to the financing of that vehicle. And as I mentioned before, you guys, when some moron lender, automobile lender, salesperson convinces you to not only get a 5-year loan, but a 7 or 10-year automobile loan, something is wrong with that picture. And believe it or not, consumers are going for these extended loans, 5, 7, 10 years or something, and they're stuck with these loans forever. So that's a trend that doesn't bode well for a lot of you guys. Let's see. And delinquencies on student loans are still high, even though on a per quarterly basis, they may go up and down and gyrate. And see, the Wall Street Journal published this article at a time when student loan delinquencies didn't look that bad. But I can guarantee you, and we can pick and choose various quarters where we get a more revealing picture of the student loan delinquency rate, mainly because of the government. If the student delinquency rate wasn't high and wasn't a problem, the government would not be looking at a way to forgive a lot of you guys who took out student loans that you can't pay for right now. So that's indeed what's happening. And believe it or not, the New York Federal Reserve is not going to do you any favors. They want you to go into the next recession with a lot of debt, because that's when the banks and the automobile lenders and all the other financial institutions who extended your credit, that's when they can start taking back all of the things that they gave you. Okay? If you got an automobile loan, you're going to give up that automobile in a recession. If you got a mortgage for a house, you're going to give that up during a recession. And if you got bank accounts and such, and you can't pay your bills, there's a good chance that the bank is going to try to seize those accounts so they can get their money back from you guys. And then not only is there a conflict of interest with the Federal Reserve, but also Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax are also lying to you guys about those guys being able to be honest with you, because as this points out right here, there were some settlements with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The settlements prompted the credit reporting firms to remove some non-loan related items that were sent to collection firms, such as gym memberships, library fines, and traffic tickets. The firms also agreed to remove medical debt collections that had been paid by a patient's insurance company. So basically what all that implies, and the reason why I threw that in there, is because Equifax and TransUnion and Experian, they dinged you guys' credits, your FICO scores, to the tune of 11 points by reporting library fines, parking tickets, and medical bills paid by your own insurance company. And that lowered your credit scores, and that increased the rates that you had to pay for borrowing money to get auto loans, to get credit cards, to get mortgages on the home. So they actually drove up your costs. And now a lot of people are too stupid to realize that they should be suing those credit reporting bureaus. But thank goodness that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, at least under Obama, was already pursuing and investigating this, as compared to the current administration, who basically wants to go to bed and sleep with the banking industry and all these other guys who are going to be ripping you off from this point on. So anyway, we're going to wrap up this session and just remind you guys, look, debt is not the way to go. If consumers have $13.3 trillion in debt in household borrowings, and your own government has $20 trillion in debt because they can't manage their own budgets, that's a clear signal that nobody is realizing the benefits of having zero debt. Again, me and my wife and our cat Lazy Bones, we have zero debt. We wake up not caring about anybody breathing down our necks. We can decide what we want to do and what we like to do on a daily basis, because there's no one that we're beholden to. you're beholden to others when you owe them money, okay, as compared to not having any. Besides, you can put money into your health savings account, into your 401ks, into your investments, if you have extra money or if you have money that's not going towards debt. So wake up, use some common sense, understand what the Federal Reserve is all about, understand what TransUnion and Equifax and Experian are saying, read between the lines, and hopefully make things better for yourself and your family. Anyway, we're going to close out this session. Do you want to say anything? Any last words, Carolyn?
Thank you for listening, everybody. Have a great day.
Okay, as we like to say at the conclusion of every podcast, keep your eyes and ears open and be safe out there. Okay, you guys have a great day. Thanks. Take care. Bye.